Good afternoon, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to all of you on behalf of. Hello. Yeah. Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome and back to the delegates who have been witnessing the APAC BFSI Innovation Conclave yesterday on day one. We are starting the day two program of this two-day conclave. So over this two-day conclave, we are sort of interacting over multiple panel discussion with technology decision makers from banks, from insurance companies, from financial companies, from fintechs, and over different aspects of how technology is becoming the key differentiator and driver for the business roadmaps of the BFSI organizations. Yesterday, in the morning, we had an inaugural session where the UP Finance Secretary, the Enterprise Architecture Head of GSTN, and the Reserve Bank of India Innovation Hub CTO talked on the policy level how technology is becoming a differentiator. We had four panel discussions yesterday. One was specifically the CIOs and CTOs from banks and the private banks and the PSU banks. One was specifically a session on the cooperative banks. We had one session specifically on the insurance company players, and we had one session on cryptocurrency and blockchain yesterday. Today, we have six panel discussions. They are running on parallel tracks. Like as we have this session now, parallelly on another auditorium, we are having a session on transformation of security in BFSI. And before I introduce the panelists here, perhaps it makes sense for me to mention our industry partners without whose support hosting a program of this magnitude might not have been possible. So we have Avaya as our digital transformation partner, Fortinet as our security partner, Crestron as our gold partner, Devnagri as our language translation partner, MapMy India as our associate partner, Choice Solutions as our associate partner, and Click as our active intelligence partner. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce the panelists today. We have with us Mr. Ayan. He's the CTO of Exide Life Insurance. Welcome, Ayan. We have with us Charu Mathur. She is the CDO and Head Business Strategy and New Initiatives at IndusInd Bank. Welcome, Charu. We have with us Mr. Sivakumar Nandipati. He is the CDO of Fedbank Financial Services or Fedfina. Welcome, Shiva. We have with us Ajay Thomas John. He is a Group CDO of Shriram Capital. Welcome, Ajay.
Thank you.
We have with us Jaspreet Singh. He's a partner, trust and transformation at Grant Thornton. Welcome, Jaspreet.
Morning, everyone.
And we have with us Nakul Kundra, who is the founder and chairman of Devnagri AI. Welcome, Nakul.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning. The very first question where I would like to start when we are talking about automation and the role of AI in BFSI and what critical role AI is playing when we are talking about digital transformation that BFSI organizations are undergoing. So what I would come first to Ayan and try to understand when we are talking about digital transformation of a financial organization, what are the significant milestones that are in that digital transformation roadmap? That particular roadmap, what do you think are the significant milestone which that particular organization need to achieve to digitally transform itself? Ayan.
Thank you, Ashish, and and happy to be part of this panel. And with I can see representatives from different parts of the business and the industry as well as the technology side. Really glad to be here. Good morning to all. So, Rajni, this is an interesting question because we have seen this entire field evolve for the last decade, 1 decade at least, especially the BFSI segment. And the primary reason has been how the entire ecosystem around, has actually developed. Because without the ecosystem coming to the fore, it would have not had been possible for the financial industry to have reached where we have in the last 10 years. And of course, the last 2 years have been the accelerator, to be honest, and which made all of us realize the importance of a complete digital transformation across the industry, across the vertical, in fact. If I have to talk about my industry, which is insurance, both life as well as general, we have been one of the slowest starters on this. In fact, for the last 5 years only, we have started looking at the importance of this, and we realize that this is possibly the only way to ensure that you are not completely disrupted and thrown out of the game. When we are looking from an insurance industry perspective, there was a time when we would only look within the perimeters of the industry, right? And we would only be talking about the players within the perimeter. Now that is not the case. So I may have to actually look at Amazon as possibly one of the disruptors in the game, and even though he is nowhere near in the industry right now. So that actually throws out so many different perceptions that the industry had for so many years now. And as we say, uh, we all understand that how insurance basically works, and it's a serious contract. It's a financial commitment. You and me both would have purchased a life insurance product at some point of time, and we all understand how complex the entire process is. Not only the entire sales process, but even to understand what the product is. It is not like buying a pack of toothpaste. There are a lot of complexities in understanding the product and its benefit. And typically, we have all seen that life insurance is always it has been sold by somebody who comes and explains to you the product and the benefits, and then you get logged into let's say a 25 years commitment, which is a serious financial commitment for anyone. So if the entire transaction and the product itself is so complex, it was always a challenge for the industry how to take it to the digital levels. We always had this human interface in between. But over the last 2 years, with the backs to the wall, there were absolutely no other option. We had to protect our employees, our agents from going out on the street. We had to ensure that our customers were safe, and naturally the entire digital journey actually evolved in its full bloom, I would say. And after 2 years, now we are almost at the completion of 24 months from when this entire thing started. I would say that the entire industry has sort of created a benchmark for itself. And now it's a time for consolidation of all the gains that have been made in the digital front over the last 24 months. And now it's only upwards and onwards from here. So the digital journey has, for our industry at least, the insurance industry, it has really taken off in the last 2 years, and it is here to stay. And in fact, most of the organizations, including ours, have decided that the digital journey itself, the sales process which happens on the digital journey, the customer support system, the customer service structures, all of that has to be on the digital platform, and that is going to be one of the business arms going into the future. So it is no more an enabler, but it's also going to be one of the distinct P&L segments of the industry, I would say. And I would rather put my neck on this. So here we are, Rajneesh, and it's only onwards and upwards, as I said, from this point of time. Back to you.
Thanks. So one interesting thing you mentioned about this technology arm getting converted into a profit center kind of thing from earlier, while it was treated just as a cost center. I'll come next to Charu, and it's a question which Ayan sort of put some of the points This digital transformation was got accelerated in the last 2 years, especially during the pandemic. So, from a bank perspective, how was the experience? How the banks transformed, and what role did intelligent automation play in that transformation, especially during this pandemic? Over to you, Charu.
Okay. Hi, good morning, everyone. Very happy to be here. So, I think as a bank, we were always, anyway, we had a lot of our processes and a lot of our onboarding journey, for customers available to the clients digitally. What happened with the pandemic was that we suddenly realized that uh, for a few months at least, that's the only way that's going to be there for doing business. So what it helped us do is we saw a sudden surge in digital adoption across employees, across our branches, and also clients coming on to the digital platforms to take financial products. And that also enabled us, or forced us to take a hard look at the fundamental design of some of the platforms that we have. So how do you build for scale? How do you build for high availability? It helped us look at our cloud strategy, and how can you handle scenarios where overnight your volume could be 100x or 1000x. And that's a very fundamental thought process, which the pandemic helped cement or further kind of further the thought process of building systems of high availability, high resilience, agility, and flexibility. And that's a very fundamental shift that we now see in all our client facing platforms and applications. um, and I think overall, uh, we have seen that a lot of clients, taking to digital segments, taking to digital, like business owners, during these last 2 years. People who were slow adopters, sitting on the fence, suddenly had no option but to engage with the bank digitally. And looking at that entire opportunity, we also went live with something called Easy Credit, for example, where we launched a completely digital platform while we were doing it on the liability side, or the deposit side of the business. But on the lending side, we saw the opportunity that we could completely digitally offer loans to clients where they don't have to see anyone. We can completely use digital framework, the power of India stack, do KYC digitally, use machine learning based algorithms to give a decision real time, use the entire framework of e-sign, e-natch, to actually disburse loans completely digitally in a 5-minute process end to end. So we did accelerate launch of some of these platforms and applications, and some of those projects suddenly got the tailwinds that they needed. um, yeah, but I think where we are headed now, what I see happening is that there is a complete new types of business models that are now emerging. So it's while we always did business through branches and people, but the direct to customer is a very real business opportunity now. In some of our lines of businesses, it's already contributing almost like 40 to 50% of the business that we do in some of those lines. And then there are certain products which completely happen digitally. I mean, they're always delivered in a completely digital direct to customer model. So I think that's a new that's a fundamental shift in the business model that we see, and that will have implications in future on how we look at our branches, what sort of staffing we do in the branches, and what sort of products do branches focus on, and what sort of products we deliver completely digitally. There is an entire new business model emerging with the ecosystem, with the partners, where we can expose our banking products as a platform onto an ecosystem player, or which can be an e-commerce company, it can be various types of ecosystem players. So that's the other thing, which I see emerging as we move forward. And the other interesting thing that I see is that consumers don't really expect banks. I think banking has been more about pushing specific products. I definitely see that consumers are now pushing us to think about solving their problems and solving their financial problems. And that is having an implication on how we design our value propositions, digital value propositions for clients. So a consumer who is like, wanting a car loan, he's actually wanting to purchase a car, and a car loan is just one of the things on his mind. So how do you like step back and help him make that entire purchase experience easy? So be it his insurance, be his, some of the other things that he may be thinking about at that point in time, the selection of the brand itself. So how do you step back and help solve a consumer problem and not just get too fixated about pushing a product? I think that's a flavor that, will scale up as we look into the future.
Thanks, Charu. I'll come to you, Shiva, next. And again, Charu touched upon that part on the consumer facing nature, and we specifically come to the EKYC part, critical for financial services organization, and this KYC part had perhaps undergone one of the maximum digital transformation during this pandemic. So, and specifically, how has the BFSI sector harnessed artificial intelligence to enhance the customer experience for a more efficient KYC? What is your experience, Shiva?
Hey, hi. Thanks everyone. I'm happy to be part of this panel here. Uh, just I'll touch upon something what Charu has added during pandemic. Like all of us know that it's not CDOs or CEOs, it's the pandemic which is responsible for digital transformation. There are too many things had come our way on 2020, be it moratorium or be it ECLGS, everything along with the pipeline of re-KYC kind of stuff which we have to do at the same time, and that calls for a lot of stuff to be done from home, and there is business continuity plans organized at offices. So even for Fedfina being an NBFC, the set of audience or the target customers for Fedfina and NBFC is different from the banks. So here there is a lot of hand holding to be needed, and there is a lot of type 2 customers who would be part of it, who take the respective products. We offer in gold loan, business loan, and home loan, and loan against property loans, more or less. So basically, the people at type 2 audience, and their digital penetration is relatively lesser, but thanks to Modi and demonetization, who has made it happen, made it relatively smoother. There's a lot of automation which we have taken place during the same time of ECLGS and Morat, and that made people, to avail moratorium after a point of time, they have to learn all this process, and that helped the people to get the digital transformation all by themselves also. This is one more interesting aspect. Now on KYC, there is eKYC which is there, which will be predominantly needed more for digital loans. On our side, we have a lot of physical products, be it gold loan and all that stuff also. Whereas we have utilized eKYC in the process of renewals predominantly. What we did was the KYC tenure is 2 or 3 years for the customer, and they have to submit for the re-KYC. And we have created an intelligent app using the respective vendors, and the inputs given by customers would go through the employee app of the audit module also, and they will also scrutinize and get back onto that. One more interesting point which you have touched upon was the customer experience. So on the customer experience per se, the millennials, or their expectation is too high. Actually, I have to admit that stuff. If now I think the competition for banks or BFSI sector is not actually these. Not it has moved from fintech. It has moved to actually towards the e-commerce. So if Amazon can deliver food items or groceries, even forget about the respective e-commerce, why can't doorstep gold loan can happen? And that's where the Rupik has come, and that's getting penetrated and explored across also. one more interesting thing which I have observed in the last 2-3 years was there's a lot of repledges, loan releases, or part payments, multiple digital transactions are happening over digital portals, be it website or the customer. And when people are doing all by themselves, lot of stuff digitally, that's saying predominantly their experience, their support, whatever they need, also has to be handled. And if a customer is coming to branch and doing some stuff, based on his body language, voice, and all that stuff, we will be able to observe, identify, and give him the respective needs, services, cross-sell, promotions, offers, on all that stuff. But if the same customer is unable to come, it may be due to pandemic, and because of pandemic, now he has uh, got habituated to do things digitally. Then there is a challenge. So his problems has to be solved. There has to be better customer experience, and we have to do the cross sell, upsell, and other parts of our products as well. So for this, again, artificial intelligence is needed a lot, because now we have to understand more about customer based on the behavior he is showing in our digital portals. So there's a lot of data has to be captured via analytics, and artificial intelligence is needed to work on big amount of data, big data more or less. And the predictive analytics also helps in the same place. So one more interesting thing which we have done was we are doing chatbot, and during pandemic as such, the collections has become a bigger issue. So we are doing a pilot chatbot on the collections. So customers get right reminders, gentle reminders on that, and they get intimated. They and we understand, we note the promise to pay, all that stuff as well, which will smoothen the other part of the customer experience also, right from the equation aspect to the service aspect. That's how the AI has become a lot of important during this pandemic time, and it has accelerated, and I see it will grow higher.
Sure. Thanks. Next, I'll come to Ajay. Ajay, how has, again, I'll stick to the AI part, and how has artificial intelligence sort of helped a BFSI organization to eliminate a lot of operational errors which was happening because of manually, and how did these benefits translate, if we translate that commercially, that benefits of reducing manual operational errors through artificial intelligence. So, how have BFSI organization taken it, and how beneficial that has been commercially?
I'll give you a quick background on what the Shriram group is about, right? When we talk about an organization of this scale, the group in itself has multiple organizations streaming between your lending organization, which is Shriram Transport Finance, who are primarily dominating the transport space. Then we have Shriram City Union Finance, who's big on the retail space. In fact, to put in a number, we just crossed a 1 crore two-wheeler mark very recently. And then we have a couple of insurance companies with us, Shriram Life Insurance and Shriram General Insurance. Now, when I talk about this entire spectrum, risk in each of these organizations is going to be completely different. We are a 75,000 employee company. And when I talk about risk primarily lie with either underwriting, it either lies with operations, or even it could be an acquisition risk. Now, what could it look at solving for the entire ecosystem is something what we wanted to address. Now, what does AI come in to solve for? Now I'll go through the entire workflow, right? Now it could start with acquisition. What kind of risk, what kind of processes which I'm looking at eliminating. Earlier, it used to be a single experience for multiple customers. Now it's become more personalized because of the kind of ML programs which are running today. It's become more personalized as to what kind of journeys, what kind of products do we need to be pitching into our customer? What could be a higher take-up rate for a particular customer? The second piece is post acquisition. When I come into underwriting, I'm looking at analyzing data, and data which we've derived from multiple pieces of information. It could be multiple sources, it could be bureau, it could be information on behavior which is there, or it could be from even an SMS where we could have understood how his transaction pattern is. And everything is consent based. The way we look at, understanding each of this information and making sense of it in a way that, the experience given to the customer is much better, solves a lot for each of the customer segments that we operate at. Now, what that enables us to do is, in a way, we are also able to dynamically price our customer segment as to what is a higher risk customer versus a lower risk customer. And for a lower risk customer, what kind of price benefits do I look at giving, right? Then if I look at assuming the same example for an insurance uh, case, right? We also see that there's a lot of frauds which are happening. AI does help in understanding how do we look at uh, uh, identifying frauds at a much earlier stage, right? From a document standpoint, uh, most of the frauds we've seen that almost 70% of frauds happen on fabricated documents. If you want to build in triggers saying that fabricated documents, whether it is good or bad or is it ugly, if we build a scoring model as to what really works for us, is something what we are focusing on, so that looks at minimizing the amount of fraudulent claims that are happening, or build a framework around which where we would want to physically verify each of these things. Same from a lending standpoint also. What kind of fraudulent loans are we looking at giving out? Can there be a control to that? That's something which you look at, so that we underwrite the right customer. The next piece which I'm talking about here is about facial and voice based technology. When I talk about facial, I'm talking about image based AR, right? So or for example, let's say for example, I get a driving license. Can I match it up with the customer to see if it is the same customer who's available? Is there a scoring model or a confidence score which is available, so that I don't have to go and physically verify this customer again from a perspective? Can I look at other opportunities which are available to serving the customer right? Can I also look at a voice-based AI to understand? Uh, One of the best examples is a voice bot, right? Where you don't have to have a physical caller to solve for a lot of pieces. Where you can also look at spreading your entire process through a voice-based caller, so that we can get interest and also get service done at a larger stage for simpler requests, and then filter out the best of cases which are available and serve it to our telecallers. So that's on the largest part which we are working on today, and we further look at scaling it on.
Thanks, Ajay. I'll come to Jaspreet next. Now you have heard from insurance, from banks, from NBFCs, talking about different facets of digital transformation, especially what happened in the last couple of years, as well as talking about how artificial intelligence is being leveraged from different facets of customer experience too. So specifically, how would you advise different kind of BFSI organization, be it a bank or an insurance or an NBFC, how can they meet the rising customer expectations as their digitization level increases? Proportionately, the customer experience or the expectation from customers, how can they meet? What would your advice be?
Uh, Thank you so much, Rajneesh, for having me here, and very good morning once again to fellow panelists. I think very, very pertinent question on what's it that's happening across the industry. I think one of my fellow speakers said that COVID probably was the biggest catalyst for digital transformation. But when we go and talk to companies about digital transformation, first and foremost, we need to understand what kind of transformation are they talking about. Uh, Unfortunately, what's happening today is every single initiative is being clubbed under digital transformation, if it's even a simple automation of a manual process. Now that exactly may or may not lead to digital transformation, right? So we need to understand on what are the priorities of an organization from a digital transformation perspective. What is the value that they're looking for? Are they looking at speeding up the process, as somebody said? Are they looking at removing the false negatives, looking at false positives? What's the 3-4 objectives that I want to achieve? Then actually go down to documenting what are the critical success factors in that entire digital transformation journey. Like for example, somebody said on the entire facial recognition system, right? Now facial recognition system also has, number one, a lot of false positives. It is dependent upon very high bandwidth to be available at a lot of times. It's dependent upon the type of cameras that I use, and Unfortunately, if you just go down to tier 2, tier 3 cities, right, people, the kind of phones that they use may not have very uh, high definition cameras on their phones, right? Starting from problems like that to looking at bandwidth problems, right? And then, we also spoke about having the entire call center experience digitized. Uh, Look at banks, right? Does it actually solve your problem by reducing your average call time? Does it increase your average call time by, and therefore it increase your cost? So the idea is we should, with due respect, everybody's talking about digital transformation. We should not just blindly say this bank is doing this, I'm also in banking, let me also pick up that. Maybe the bank is trying to solve a problem which probably you don't have, which is which could be unique to that organization, right? Or somebody who's just giving, like Charu said, if somebody's talking about the entire customer experience, if somebody's coming to my website to look at a car loan, can I enable him from the entire ecosystem, right, to without even going to the showroom, looking at a car model, looking at colors, looking at availability, looking at features, and then automatically redirecting him to one of the preferred banking providers from an auto processing of loan. And then while you're selecting the models, obviously you're giving your pin code, you're probably just giving some basic KYC details. And in the meantime, the bank or whoever is the person who's handling the transaction is just
You have gone on mute, Jaspreet. Jaspreet, you have gone on mute. Jaspreet, you have gone on mute. Jaspreet, I think you have to unmute and yeah,
sorry
yeah, yeah.
so the example that I was giving was, so then you, as soon as you enter the KYC details to see whether the model is available in your particular region, particular area, immediately bank also has those KYC details and checks whether you are eligible for a loan or not, right? Looks at your entire loan history. That's the digital transformation that we are talking about, wherein it is not only about customer expectation, it is also about customer experience. And I think we'll have to probably draw a line between customer expectation versus customer experience, and depending upon each initiative, decide which one we should go in for first. I would really advise organizations to probably take a back seat, think about what all use cases they would want to solve from a digital transformation perspective, look at what are the avenues or what are the critical success factors of each and the outcomes of each, which should be directly linked to a customer goal, and then take it forward. Back to you, Rajni.
Okay, thank you. So I think Nakul got disconnected. So I'll come back to you, Ayan. Since you had to leave earlier, I will ask you the question which to the other panelists I would ask in the last round. What I wanted to know is if we look a little bit ahead for the next, I will say uh, 4 to 5 quarters, maybe 12 to 18 months. From Since you belong to an insurance company, from an insurance company or from a overall BFSI organization perspective, what are the biggest digital initiative that is being planned, and what will be the salient features of that initiative? Ayan.
Thank you, Rajnish. And this has been a very enlightening session till now. In fact, a lot of things have come out during the discussion. So, if I need to do a bit of crystal gazing now, over the next, as you mentioned, 4 to 6 quarters, which is approximately 18 months from now, I see very strong tailwind, at least towards adoption of the modern digital structures which are evolving right now across the BFSI segment. And a few of the things which will be possibly, which will be piloting this is the specifics of AI-backed data analytics. That is something which I have been seeing for the last almost 18 again last 18 months. It has picked up very well now, and I remember one of the panelists also talking about it, that the more you dive deeper into the data that you would have collected over the years. For example, if I talk about my industry, uh, we are a 20-year-old industry now, 21 years in fact. And insurance, typically from the nature of its operations, we collect a lot of data. But unfortunately, most of these data pieces have been lying in silos, and we have not been making real use of this data that we have been having for so many years now. So there has now been a concerted effort to dive deep into this data, connect the dotted lines and see that how the overall picture emerges. I have seen specifically in my industry, in my company, that we have been looking at four different types of data. In fact, so transactional data, which typically we handle in most of the occasions. The demographic data, which we always keep on getting in, whenever we are onboarding a new customer or there are different touch points. Then we also have now the behavioral data. Now, behavioral data is something which is emerging very fast, and now we have the technology to really, sift it out and get a proper structure of the behavioral analytics done on this piece of data. And finally, the holy grail of all, which everyone talks about, but I'm not very sure how much people have really, used it till this point of time effectively, is the social data. So all of this put together will definitely create one good ecosystem for the entire BFSI vertical to do good predictive analytics, and then from that point onwards, how do you handle each of your customer segments? So do you define your customer as an individual, or you still continue to keep him in buckets? So for the last 3, 4, 5 years, we have seen that we have been creating segments of customers, right? We had this platinum, gold, silver segments and all that. Now, as we employ more precise analytics, are we now moving towards a situation where you have your individual customer X as a specific segment and offer specific products tailor made for him, and then reach out to him for very, very structured customer service initiatives? So I think that's going to be the second driving factor, at least in my industry. That is, we can see the green shoots already appearing, and almost everyone in the industry is in fact working towards that. Then finally, the rise of AI backed robos. Now, if you ask me, most of my industry has been actually now on the cutting edge of AI backed bots. If I talk about, so the days of chatbots, the days of WhatsApp bots, all of that is over now with this last 24 months of the pandemic. Now we are getting into humanoids actually, where when you pick up the phone, it will take some time for you to understand that you are actually speaking to a bot and not a human being on the other end. So we in fact, if I have to give some insight on what we are doing in the labs, uh, for example, you are aware that for an insurance policy, you are expected to pay premiums year after year, right? And insurance companies will typically come back to the customers and give them a reminder call, so that they I mean, closer to the date of the renewal premium, and all of us have experienced that. So we have all seen what has happened over the years. Earlier there used to be paper notices, and then there were telephone calls, and now voice back calls and all things like that. Now a humanoid bot will call you, and let's say you say that you are driving, and it will immediately pick up your location from your address, and it will then cross check into the weather portals, and will tell you, Mr. Rajneesh, the rain is expected in your city. or there is heavy traffic in your city, please drive safe. We will connect back later. So you can understand, from a structured call earlier, which used to be like, Mr. Rajneesh, your premium is due, blah blah blah, by please pay by so and so date. Now this bot is actually evolving to a stage where it actually talks about your well-being in your current state, and then it makes things much more natural, as if you are talking to another human being. So we are talking about those things evolving over the horizon. In fact, now I would say it is not over the horizon. We can actually see it evolving. In fact, the example which I gave is something which we are piloting right now. We have identified in our company almost 26 different backend processes, and each process can be broken down, to almost, if 26 is broken down to each pieces, then some 240 odd smaller sub processes have evolved where we have employed bots. And these bots have basically ensured that they work beyond the working hours of a normal human being, which will typically be 8 hours, and the business continuity is maintained, and the customer service is definitely then impacted. So we are now actively working towards freeing up the cognitive part of the human mind towards things which were more creative in nature. So we are actually asking people on their respective desks to sort of do a business process re-engineering of the work that they have been doing, and we are leaving the actual day-to-day job to the bots. That's not only cutting
Okay.
down on the risks, the human risks, but it's also ensuring that the human being, the human mind is then freed up to actually pick up more creative pieces of work. And
Okay.
that's really something which is very interesting. There is a lot of push in the industry for achieving this, and we are actually seeing a lot of good things coming right from the lowest level in the organization. For example, a management trainee who has just joined in, all the way right to the top. So I can say, all of these things put together is definitely creating a major big ecosystem, all over the place. And as I said earlier also, that all of this is being held because of the fintech and the insurtech advancement that's happening. It's an explosion that has happened over the last few months, and we have been partnering with many of such startups, and those pieces are actually been put together like a big jigsaw puzzle, and our overall business picture is actually appearing out of it.
Okay. Thanks, Ayan. Charu, I'll come to you. My question is, we know, we talked even in this discussion about different facets of this digital transformation and more digital leverage. The important question is, as a chief digital officer, you might be driving this transformation, but per se there has to be a very synchronization, one between the digital officer, between maybe a CIO, then more importantly the different business heads about the different business functions, and then all within the budgetary challenges and the budgetary constraints that are involved. So how do you drive that synchronization, and what are the challenges there?
No, thanks, Rajni. So that's a very good question. I I think at the start of it, at the heart of it, basically there has to be a common objective. And if that common objective is something that is aligned between the CDO, the CIO, and the business heads, if there is a common vocabulary, then it's not tough. It's not, that difficult to get that perfect sort of a rhythm going towards that common goal. And luckily, I would say that uh, it's not that easy because there is, of course, an element of prioritization that one has to do. But we have a very simple lens to it, and we basically rank order everything in terms of business impact. that a specific digital transformation initiative can deliver. So, and that's a very easy way for us to prioritize our product roadmaps, our platform roadmaps across various uh, platforms and channels that I look at. And I think for us, I would say we're very business oriented at the top, very P&L oriented, and the ability, therefore, to see what is it that will create an immediate, P&L impact helps bring prioritization to the various things that we want to do. However, you still have to invest in certain initiatives in a sort of a laboratory kind of a framework, which are for the long run. And that continues to happen to build something interesting and very exciting for the future. But BAU, we work together with the CIO, with the business heads. We look at the wish list of what all we can do for the customers. We try and sequence it in an order of business impact, and then work towards that. So that's.
Thanks, Charu. Nakul, we got disconnected in between, so I haven't been able to come to you. I'll come to you. I'm sure you would have heard. We heard from an insurance company. We have heard from a bank. We have heard from NBFCs. So my question is, as a solution provider, when the BFSI organizations are talking about extensively leveraging artificial intelligence, especially in enhancing customer experience. As a solution provider, how can you help banks achieve that enhancing customer experience? How can that be achieved?
Thanks, Rajneesh. Hope I am audible now. So happy to be a part of this panel. So as you have asked that how we are helping the BFSI sector, particularly the banks and the insurance sectors, to get the extra mileage by getting into D2C, which is direct to consumer, and getting.
I think he got. He's Nakul.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible. Please continue.
So due to Corona time, lots of consumers have actually started coming online and started buying new offerings from different not only banks but from the e-commerce and edtech companies as well. So how we are helping the businesses that we are actually using the AI. We have created our AI powered human translation engine, which is basically a translation platform. So we are helping these kind of customers to go vernacular in Indian languages. The reason is very simple, that if we actually go to the statistics, so 90% of Indians do not understand English. And when they will be coming online, obviously they need the content in their language to understand what it is written. So as we always say that these 90% Indians do not understand English. So in order to build the trust and the empathy with the new customers, with the next billion, so we have to talk to them in their language so that they have that trust level on different offerings of different companies, not only limited to BFSI and insurance, but also for the edtech and other industries who are working on the technology. So this is how we are benefiting. So our AI powered engine is actually delivering one of the best solutions. Basically, the one of the best translated. We are one of the best translated engine in India, and we are delivering more than 90% of the contextual results. And from the application side, we have made it very simple. So what you can do is to only apply our APIs into your system, and we take your websites, mobile applications, or any kind of solution vernacular real time. So with the banks, yes, we are working with the number of nationalized banks, and we have been providing our solutions to them. So we have the enterprise level solutions for the kind of expectations what banking and the BFSI sector have as a whole. So under this enterprise level solution, we are not only helping these BFSI sector to get vernacular only in websites and their landing pages and mobile applications in order to handle their dynamic data, but we are also helping them to go vernacular in terms of their marketing collaterals and their documentation. So documentation and digitization is one of the biggest challenges, not only for the BFSI but for the government as a whole. So we have created number of solutions under enterprise levels to help these businesses to translate and go digitize at scale. So these are the kind of offerings what we have created for them, and that's how
Sure.
we are helping the BFSI to get the next billion people to get on their website and convert them for the business prospect.
Thanks, Nakul. Ajay, I'll come to you. The question I earlier asked to Ayan also, in terms of if we look at the next 4 5 quarters, uh, from a digital initiative perspective, what is going to be the biggest project or biggest initiative that you undertake, and what do you feel will be its implications?
So one of the key priorities which I'm working on, which is the large scale project in itself, Shriram Group is building its own super app in terms of getting every customer onto a single platform where we could offer all our services and products, and also getting our customers to engage further and understand our products better, experience our products better, and also raise any requests which are there. So that's one of the key initiatives the group is driving. You would have already seen in the media that couple of large organizations are merging together to form a single entity. Shriram Transport and Shriram City is merging together to become a single entity in itself, and that together makes it one of the largest NBFCs in India. And for that, we are looking at building a super app which could have a retail segment of loans and also all the transport loans coming together from a app standpoint, and that's the core uh, projects which are taking. Now, when I'm talking about a super app project, there are multiple segments to it. The first part is to sort out the underlying data, which is going to be uh, the back end of the entire. I would say more than the back end, the heart of the entire app. How is it going to function, and what kind of existing customer information do we have? From a franchisee standpoint, we are roughly around 2 crore customers, and we need to see that synergy. How do we bring it together and offer the best of services, identify products which are best suited for each customer, and that's one of the core goals which we're looking at driving, so that each of our customers are engaged and feel it nourishing to have one of our apps installed. So that's the goal.
Thanks. Shiva, the same question to you. Next 18 to 24 months, the major digital initiative being planned, and what do you feel would be the implications?
Uh, it's more on the digital lending. I think the way we are reading the records at this point of time versus the way we will lend is going through the transformation, and it will take an huge change at this point of time. I think both supervised and unsupervised learnings in the machine learning would be applicable, whereas supervised learning will help us to analyze and assess the patterns which has happened in the past, so we don't do the same mistakes. And with unsupervised learning, since it is correlated to different kinds of variables, it will give us different kind of parameters that will help in reviewing the risk of an customer as well. It can, more or less at this point of time, we don't connect, but tomorrow we may even connect to his social media profile, maybe Facebook profile, and see there are only 2 friends. So it's a dummy account. Maybe this person is a dummy guy. Or it can currently also at this point of time, some people read the mobile contact numbers as well. And if there is less than 5 contacts or less than 10 contacts, they understand their review score will go less. So with all these things getting shaped using artificial intelligence, I see there is a huge leap of faith will happen especially in the lending sector, in the way the lending happens.
Thanks. Nakul, what do you feel will be the major digital initiative over the next 4 5 quarters?
So I think the kind of customers what we are expecting online. So if we have to actually talk about the numbers, so in 4 5 years there will be about 100 crore Indians to join Indian internet. So obviously these are the kind of people who do not understand English. So for the BFSI, even if we talk about the government, so government has these kind of mandates that all the BFSI and all the technology-based companies should go vernacular. So I think for in order to meet this extra mileage for BFSI sector particularly, they are required to go vernacular, not only because of compliance, but to get those extra customers onboarded, which will actually help them not only to increase the customer experience, but to get new customers, which will help them in increasing their revenues.
Okay, thanks. That's an interesting point. In fact, to penetrate into the hinterland market. So, Charu, as a lady, you have the last word here, literally. So, what do you think would be the biggest or the key digital initiatives that your organization or overall banks would be undertaking in the next 3-4 quarters?
So I think there are two, three things which I feel will be the priority for the next few quarters. So one is I think there is going to be an entirely different way of delivering digital products and financial products. So these models of transaction-based lending products, you basically are conducting a transaction, you're taking a cab, you're purchasing something, and you end up originating loans in the background, both as an individual as a business owner. So those looking at using all the data that's available, I think a lot of new business models are going to emerge: revenue-based financing models, transaction-based lending models, and the whole space of open banking, API banking with new innovative products is going to be a reality. The other thing which I think is going to be very important as we look into the future is the entire data security and privacy framework, the framework of client consent, and how do we do this all judiciously without compromising, customer privacy. I think that there is going to be significant amount of investment in those areas, and that's what I think will be the focus for next few quarters for us.
Thanks. Before we conclude the panel discussion, we had a very interesting discussion around the different facets of the impending digital transformation, and which has already been accelerated during the pandemic, and how different aspects can help in enhancing the customer experience, and also a little bit of crystal gazing on what the future would look like. As I mentioned, before we finish, I would like to hand over a digital certificate to each of you, and subsequently, our team will get in touch with you and send the physical copies along with a small token of appreciation at your home address. So, can we have Ayan has already left for a meeting? So, this is for Ayan Day. Congratulations to Ayan. Charu Mathur for her, leadership role in technology, leadership in BFSI. Congratulations, Charu.
Thank you. Thank you, Rajni.
Sivakumar Nandipati for his role in leadership in BFSI. Congratulations, Shiva.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Ajay Thomas John for his leadership role in innovation and technology in BFSI. Congratulations, Ajay.
Thank you, Rajneesh. Thank you.
Jaspreet has also congratulations to Jaspreet. And Nakul Kundra, founder and chairman of Devnagri AI, for his role in technology leadership. Congratulations, Nakul.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we come to an end. Thanks to all the panelists for a very interactive and insightful discussion. And I hope if you are able to join for the next panel discussion, which will be starting in 10 minutes' time. Thank you.